Thought I'd start out with an announcement, guys, on a couple of fronts. The movie is just 1 week away. 1 week until the theatrical opening of Police State. So if you have dawdled a little bit until now, it's okay. But now is the time to spring into action. And that means to make plans and to get your tickets. So to repeat, we have bought out hundreds of theaters all across the country. I don't remember how many there were, but something like 600 or 700 theaters on 2 days, which is the evening of Monday, October 23rd, 1 week from now, or Wednesday, October 25th. And the theater is the way to see the movie, if you can. Now, some people will say, oh, the theater is a little ways away, I can't get to the theater, or those days don't work for me. And we understand that's when we could get the theaters. Theaters don't let us do the buyout on weekends. We have to do it on a weekday. But on Friday, October 27th, we have our virtual premiere. Now, for 2,000 Mules, we had 80,000 people at our virtual premiere, and they loved it. It's almost like watching the Oscars. It's a spectacular stage out of a studio in Las Vegas. We'll have live music, and I'll talk a little later in the podcast about who's going to be performing. In fact, the guest who's going to be performing is going to show up here, and you'll get a little glimpse of his song, which is written for the movie. It's called Police State Survivor. Really cool. And then we play the full movie, and then a live Q&A with Dan Bongino and me to follow, and all for the price of a movie ticket. So the website, policestatefilm.net, that's the one-stop shop to get all your tickets. You can't get them from the theater. You can't get them from Fandango or some other movie site. You got to go to the website, policestatefilm.net. So now's the time to move. And if you can, go in a group, round up your friends and family, or if you're in a book club or a church Bible study, or even put up a notice at your church, meet us at the theater. I mean, the cool thing here is you don't have to buy out the theater. We already have. So you can buy as many tickets as you want. You can buy 1, you can buy 10, you can buy 20. If you've got a group of 20, go together. It's a shared experience if you can make it that. But if you can't, watch at home, round up your family, and you're going to see this movie, the relevance, the power of it. Again, it's one thing to talk about it, as so many people do in social media and on this podcast. It's a whole different thing to experience the police state. It's like nothing else. So very proud of this movie, very excited about all this. And so time for you to act and also help us share the word. Now, let's talk a little bit about Israel and the ongoing raw debate about anti-Semitism and about Israel's retaliation. I mean, what's really interesting about all this? Well, first of all, in Israel, there is a collective sense of trauma, and you can understand why. It's not just the horror of the attacks. It is, how did we let this happen? I mean, you have a festival that was going on that was evidently almost lacking any kind of protection at all. And so the Hamas terrorists could go in there and just grab people at will. You had kibbutzes and families that were undefended. Now, Israel normally has a blockade, has a line separating the Palestinians from the rest of Israel, checkpoints, and a very admired around the world intelligence apparatus. So Israelis are asking, is this a failure of the government? Is it a failure of intelligence? How did this happen? And that's a question that U.S. intelligence can ask as well, because U.S. intelligence is also supposed to be, well, it's certainly the most expensive intelligence in the world. Giant amounts of resources are devoted to it. And yet, what happened? Evidently, people had no clue. Clearly, the National Security Advisor had no clue, Jake Sullivan, because he said so. Clearly, Anthony Blinken had no clue. I mean, these people are clueless to a degree anyway, but you would think that this would be picked up, the signals, the movements. I mean, in an age of cell phone geo-tracking and extensive satellite surveillance, many other types of surveillance, not to mention human sources on the ground, how this got past the Israelis and us is, it's not entirely a mystery because there is a police-state connection here. One reason it got right past these guys, our guys, is because they were looking elsewhere. Israel is at war because of senseless, horrifying attacks from brutal terrorists targeting innocent civilians, including women and children. You and I simply have to do something to help the victims of these attacks. That's why I'm partnering with the International Federation of Christians and Jews. This is how we can do our part to help. We need to do what we can to help children and families hit by the war in Israel. It's an urgent need, and it's the right thing to do. Help Israel in its darkest hour. Phone your donation to 800-249-0606. Again, that's 800-249-0606. Your emergency gift will help the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews save lives and provide critical essentials needed right now. Again, the number to call, 800-249-0606.